Distribution services provided by Tubemogul. Video distribution and analytics, tubemogul.com.
Apple was the first company to truly do an application store properly, and since then, since all 100,000 apps are out, we wanted to take a retrospective and find out exactly what's the impact been of the App Store. To do that, we bring in a couple technology journalists, Wendy Sheehan Donnell from PC Magazine and Nicholas Deleon from CrunchGear. Now, Nicholas, we've seen the application store as a major feather in Apple's hat. They were the first to really get it going. Do you think that this is still something that's really important for users?
Yeah, it's probably the most important thing for users. Just speaking of my own personal life, one of my good friends, Ted, he's all about apps. Like the phone, like AT&T is garbage. Like the reception is terrible. But my God, it has apps. And so long as it has apps, he's a happy man. So
now, Wendy, a lot of people have said, when they're looking at purchasing a device, the application store rather, is the most important part of the iPhone, as Nicholas just kind of alluded to. Do you see that as the case? I mean, if someone's looking to pick up the Droid or the Pre or one of these other phones, do you really have to compare that in there?
I think now it is, because there's so many other cool handsets. At first it was just the iPhone and everybody else was catching up, but now we've got Droid and some other really interesting phones coming up. So I think the apps make a big difference for Apple. That's going to separate people saying, wow, this Droid is cool, but look at, I could get 100,000 apps in Apple and only 10,000 apps on Android. And also there's no approval process for the apps on Android, so a lot of them are crap. Honestly.
Well, and that's been one of the big things we've talked about, over the last 6 months is applications get rejected, applications get added. Nick, do you think that situation has kind of turned off developers maybe, or do you think they're still kind of like, oh, there's more people on iPhone than anything else?
It'll turn them off in the sense it'll give them opportunity to grandstand and be like, oh, Apple, how dare you reject this app? Meanwhile, Apple is the only game in town, so if they want to make money off their awesome, amazing app, they have to go the iPhone route. So it really, they can complain all they want, but they know where their bread is buttered, so to speak.
But that's what makes for good apps, the approval process. It could be a jerky process, but that's why you get 96,121 apps. I think they're active, but most of them are good apps. They're not like, junk.
Yeah. Well,
although there is junk.
I was going to say that some people would say that there are some junk apps, and Palm's kind of taking a different approach and saying you need to pay extra money to get in the App Store. But if you wanted to distribute it yourself, you can go ahead. I mean, to me, that seems like a really good idea. Obviously, the Palm install base isn't there, so the developer support isn't totally there. I don't know, Nicholas, do you think that's going to change the game at all?
In what sense?
I mean, people are going to look at the Palm. It's easier to get apps on the Palm Pre, is what it comes down to. If you just have a URL, you can send people to it. There's not that approval process nightmare. I mean, do you think that do you think the approval process is a weak enough link to turn off developers eventually, or I mean, is it?
Well, you mentioned the Palm Pre, and that would be a good thing if the Palm Pre were popular and had it sold well, and I don't think it did, to be honest. So it could have the most amazing approval process in the world, but there's for lack of a better term, no Pre's out there. Yeah. So I mean, this is all comparison to the iPhone, which is just Jupiter. Yeah, to
any other handsets, I don't know, Pluto, I guess. Well, Wendy, what's the future of app stores? I mean, what do consumers need to expect? What's going to change? I mean, look into your crystal ball and try and guess for us.
I just think they're going to do more and more and more. I'm wondering how much longer it's going to be that they release press releases that say 100,000 apps, 150,000 apps. I mean, at this point, it's like really the number doesn't really matter anymore. There's so many. There's an app, as they say, for everything. So I think they're just going to keep going and going. But it's going to be catch up for a lot of these other guys. Because I mean, on WebOS, there's 300 apps right now. Android, there's 10,000. BlackBerry App World, about 2,000. I mean, again, I guess the numbers don't really matter, but it's the quality of the apps, and Apple has quality apps, I think, and also they have the hardware.
Yeah, exactly. And having the most applications means just statistically, there's got to be, some gems in there that hopefully people can find. Guys, we're going to leave it there. Nicholas Deleon from CrunchGear, thanks for being on the program. Also, Wendy Sheehan Donnell from PC Magazine, thanks for being on the show as well.
Thanks for having me.
I'm Randall Bennett. Don't forget, you can catch us on iTunes. We're on YouTube. And special thanks to our sponsor, GoToMeeting. You can get 30 days for free by checking out gotomeeting.com/techpodcasts. See you later.